G'day, how you going?
I'm going to teach you how to use the back block, which is a great way to decompress your lumbar spine and get some pain relief. This block here is 7 centimeters by 14 centimeters by 28 centimeters. And you might be thinking, oh, can I use a yoga block instead? You can if that was the last thing available to you, go for it, use that. Typically they're a little bit smaller though, and this has been made especially to cover the width of our pelvis. So it's going to be a lot better to use something of this size. The best time to do the back block exercise is typically towards the end of the day. Remember I said we're trying to decompress the spine here, and by that I mean throughout the day, if we're sitting or standing for extended periods of time, there's going to be a lot of compressive stress through our bodies due to gravity, and we want to unload our bodies. In the morning, assuming you've just woken up, you would have been lying horizontal all night, so you're already somewhat decompressed. But in the evening, after the end of a long day's work, that's usually the best time, right before you go to bed. Alternatively, you might do it at, say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but generally, 10 p.m. before you go to bed, that's the best time. So we're going to start by getting on the floor, and for most people, you can probably jump straight to it and use the back block, but for others, it might be a little intense for them, so it's a good idea to warm up your back prior to using the back block. And the best thing to do is lie on your back in what we call the hook lying position. So that is your knees bent, feet flat on the floor. And you might start by doing some pelvic tilts or some pelvic rocks. This is a Pilates exercise where you repetitively flatten your lower back against the floor. Okay. The other way of thinking about it is by drawing your pubic bone up towards your nose. And another way of thinking about it is when doing a glute bridge exercise, the initial phase of lifting your glutes up off the floor is kind of like tilting your pelvis. So just tilt your pelvis back and forth for 20 to 30 seconds. Then you might do a little bit of knees rocking. So start with your thighs perpendicular to the floor, cross your ankles, knees nice and wide, hold your knees around the outside of your thighs, and just rock your knees towards your chest. This is, it's mobilizing your lumbar spine, working some nutrient-rich fluid into your discs, pumping it up and warming it up. Once you've done that, stay in this hook-lying position, grab the back block, and you're going to place it directly underneath your sacrum. The sacrum is the triangular bone at the base of your spine, okay? So lift your pelvis up and rest it on top. And it should feel pretty comfortable in this position. Your sacrum is a flat bone, so when you're resting on the block, it shouldn't feel like you're overly extending your lumbar spine. If that is uncomfortable, you can draw the block down towards your backside if it's more comfortable. So let's say you've got it in the perfect spot. You're then going to raise your arms one at a time to rest on the floor above you, and then extend your legs one at a time to rest on the floor in front of you. And the challenge here now is to relax your body as best as you can. You want to try and completely give yourself to the block. This is the position where most or many people will feel a sense of apprehension. It will feel like there is maybe a mild sense of pain. You might also feel a stretch across your stomach or your hip flexors. You might feel a big nothing. You might also feel this stretching sensation, which is what we're going for. If it's too intense, come out of the position, bend your knees and just get out of it, take the block away. But if you can bear with it, you should try and stick there. And we want to try and get 1 to 2 minutes. Personally, I prefer to aim for about 2 minutes in this position. If you feel that you're clenching your pelvic floor muscles or your whatever muscles you're clenching to alleviate yourself from this sort of apprehensive type pain, allow your body to do that. Allow your body to clench but then try to relax again, and then you can allow yourself to clench and relax. But if you're taking to it well, just as I said, give yourself to the block as best you can. Try and completely relax. And this offers the most amount of decompression to your lumbar spine. Once you've done that, bring your arms one at a time back down, and then your legs one at a time back up. It's important to come out of the posture correctly, because regardless of what you felt, because of your pelvis being elevated off the ground, you would have created this traction force through your lumbar spine. And it's not a force that your lumbar spine is used to experiencing. So you should respect that and come out of the posture responsibly. Once you've done that, lift your pelvis off, and this is where you need to be careful. Slide the block out and slowly lower yourself back down. It's about this point where you'll notice there are some changes to your lower back. It will feel different. Then it's really important that you bring your back to more of a sense of normality by doing some more pelvic tilts to begin with. And then, so 10 to 15 seconds, and then go straight into the knees rocking. Now you can, after coming out of the back block, go straight to doing this exercise. But if you're really cautious, you can start by doing the pelvic tilt. And then what you should do after doing the knees rocking is about 15 reverse curls, or let's say 15 for every minute that you stayed on your back block. So just put your hands by your side, or hands by your side or hands up by your head, and just pull your knees towards your chest. We're trying to activate the lower abdominals, which serve as an abdominal corsetry to lift your spine up. And because we've been relaxed, we want to switch something on to brace ourselves. Once you've done that, you can come out of the posture and then stand up and walk around. Normally people will report a sense of lightness after doing the back block. Even after that short period of time, me doing it, my back feels quite sort of revitalized, and it's only 1 o'clock at the time of recording. But some of you might be thinking, when you lie on the back of the block, is that not creating some extension through your lumbar spine? The answer is no, and that is because by elevating yourself up off the floor, you're creating traction. That is a pulling apart effect of the lumbar spine. It's traction first, and then you'll be extending over the block. Because it's only 7 centimeters though, you'll be getting barely any extension range of motion. If you were to do the back block on its second setting, then you might start to introduce some extension range of motion in the lumbar spine. But again, because you've started with traction first, there should be no impaction of the facet joints. So by that I mean, when we extend the lumbar spine, when we hyperextend it, these joints in here, the facet joints, they will approximate. So they will jam in together. Now this is just a model. You can't really see it as effectively as you might in real life. But when we open the spine by bending it, you can see very well here all the vertebrae separate. I mean, these are actually dislocating in this example, but the point is still made that we can see gaps through there. If I extend it, you can see that jamming up. That would be painful in real life. And what I'm saying is, when you lie on the block like this, because of that elevated platform, the spine is pulled apart like that. So it's pulled apart first, and then any extension range of motion that's available will occur. But because you've pulled it apart, there should be less jamming. If you do the back block and it's painful, just don't do it. You need more treatment. And only once you've done that treatment should you then return to doing the back block. Just another point on the different levels, always start on the flattest level. If you feel nothing and it feels like it's doing nothing, then you probably need to increase the level. And you might not necessarily go from 7 centimeters to 14 centimeters. You might have some other object that's in between. You might go to 10, but it probably takes another 7 centimeters to make the difference. The next most obvious question is, when would we put it on this setting? Very rarely. Unless you were an expert gymnast or a ballet dancer of some sort, you won't ever get to this stage. It's only in those individuals who are extremely flexible that they would require this level of stimulus to create the traction needed by somebody who's doing those sorts of things. So in my experience, how often would you do this? So you do it every night before you go to bed. I would start by saying do it every night for a week. And if after a week's time, say on the 8th to 10th day, you're not really getting much, just give yourself a rest from the back block. It may be that you've decompressed yourself to the limit that you're going to decompress yourself, and you actually need to squash yourself back up again before you get any relief from this. But this is a great exercise, and it is far better, in my opinion, than using an inversion table or hanging. Those other methods of decompression, they might work a little bit, but it's not a patch on using the back block. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Yeah, thanks mate, good on you.